Imagine being born in a country where leaving is considered one of the worst crimes imaginable. A country where every phone call can be monitored. Where every newspaper says the same thing. Where your entire life is planned before you are even born. A country surrounded by fences, soldiers, landmines, and one of the most heavily fortified borders on Earth. This is North Korea. And despite decades of poverty, famine, political repression, and international isolation, very few people ever manage to escape. Why? What makes North Korea so difficult to leave? And what happens to those who try? To understand why almost nobody escapes North Korea, we first need to understand how the country became one of the most isolated places on Earth. After World War II, the Korean Peninsula was divided into two separate states. The Soviet Union supported the communist government in the north, while the United States backed the South. In 1950, war erupted between the two sides. The conflict devastated the peninsula and killed millions of people. When the fighting ended, the border remained. But over time, North Korea and South Korea became two completely different worlds. South Korea transformed into one of the world's leading economies. North Korea took a different path. The government built a highly centralized political system centered around absolute loyalty to the ruling Kim family. Today, North Korea remains one of the most closed societies on Earth. Most citizens have never traveled abroad. Many have never even traveled freely inside their own country. Information is tightly controlled. Foreign media is largely banned. Internet access is restricted to a tiny elite. For most North Koreans, the government controls not only what they can do, but also what they can know. But information control is only the beginning. The first reason people rarely escape is geography. Many people imagine that North Korea is surrounded by hostile countries on all sides. In reality, the country shares borders with South Korea, China, and Russia. At first glance, that might seem like several possible escape routes. In practice, almost all of them are extremely dangerous. The most famous border is the Demilitarized Zone between North and South Korea. Despite its name, it is one of the most heavily militarized borders in the world. Barbed wire fences stretch for miles. Thousands of soldiers stand guard. Surveillance equipment constantly monitors movement. Large areas contain landmines. Attempting to cross directly into South Korea is almost suicidal. For this reason, most defectors do not even try. Instead, they head north, toward China. But crossing into China is far from easy. The Yalu and Tumen rivers form much of the border. During winter, parts of these rivers freeze. In theory, this might sound like an easier escape route. In reality, border guards patrol constantly.
Security cameras watch key areas.
Anyone caught trying to flee faces severe punishment. And punishment does not always affect only the individual. For decades, North Korea has practiced a system known as collective responsibility. If one family member commits a political crime, relatives may also suffer consequences. This creates enormous pressure. Many people do not attempt escape because they fear what might happen to their parents, children, brothers, or sisters. The government understands a simple reality. A person might be willing to risk their own life, but risking the lives of their loved ones is much harder. Even if someone successfully crosses into China, the journey is only beginning. Many people assume that once defectors reach Chinese territory, they are safe. Unfortunately, that is often not true. China does not officially recognize North Korean escapees as refugees. Instead, many are classified as illegal migrants. If captured by Chinese authorities, they can be returned to North Korea. For defectors, this possibility is terrifying. Because returning to North Korea can lead to imprisonment, forced labor, harsh interrogation, and years of punishment. As a result, defectors often spend months or even years hiding inside China. They move secretly from house to house. They rely on underground networks. They avoid police checkpoints. They constantly fear discovery. Some eventually make their way through several countries before reaching safety. The route can include thousands of miles of travel across unfamiliar territory. Every step involves risk. And yet geography and border security are still only part of the story.
Perhaps the most powerful barrier is psychological. Many North Koreans grow up hearing the same message throughout their entire lives. The outside world is dangerous. Foreign countries are enemies. The government protects you.
Leaving means betrayal. For decades, these messages are repeated through schools, television, newspapers, workplaces, and public events. When people hear the same story from childhood, questioning it becomes difficult. Imagine living your entire life without access to alternative information. Without social media. Without foreign news. Without unrestricted internet. Without independent journalism. For many North Koreans, the government is not simply a political authority. It is the primary source of reality itself. Some defectors have described the shock of discovering that many things they had been taught were false. Others say they struggled to understand how different the outside world really was. This information barrier helps explain why escape rates remain relatively low. Many citizens are unhappy with economic conditions. But not everyone sees escape as a realistic option. Some fear the unknown more than the system they already understand. Others simply do not know enough about life beyond North Korea's borders. Then there is the issue of surveillance. North Korea has developed extensive systems for monitoring society. Neighborhood groups report suspicious behavior. Workplaces monitor loyalty. Local officials collect information. The goal is not merely to punish dissent. It is to discourage it before it even begins. When people believe they are constantly being watched, they become less likely to take risks. This creates a powerful atmosphere of self-censorship and fear. Over time, the system reinforces itself. Most people follow the rules because everyone around them appears to follow the rules as well. Yet, despite all these obstacles, some people still escape. Their stories are often extraordinary. Many travel through multiple countries. Some spend years planning. Others rely on smugglers and secret networks. Many leave behind family members they may never see again. Some eventually settle in South Korea. Others move to the United States, Europe, or elsewhere. But even after reaching safety, the challenges do not disappear. Defectors often face culture shock. Imagine arriving in a modern society after spending your entire life in one of the world's most isolated states. Simple technologies may feel unfamiliar. Social norms may be completely different. The adjustment can take years. Some defectors thrive and build successful new lives. Others struggle with trauma, loneliness, and the pain of separation from family members left behind. Their stories remind us that escaping a country is not always the end of the journey. Sometimes it is only the beginning. So why does almost nobody escape North Korea?
Because the country has built layer upon layer of barriers.
Physical barriers, political barriers, information barriers, psychological barriers, economic barriers, and family barriers. Even if one obstacle is overcome, several more remain. North Korea is not impossible to leave. Thousands have done it. But every successful escape represents an extraordinary act of courage, planning, and luck. For most people living there, the risks are simply overwhelming. And that is what makes North Korea one of the hardest countries on Earth to escape.